tonight. It's becoming a familiar scene. Officers with weapons drawn surrounding a home in another St. John's neighborhood.
Police have ordered people to shelter in place in the center of St. John's as they respond to an incident with guns drawn. I'm Julia Israel, and I'll have that story coming up on Here and Now.
Their chances to win the night, and they better take it.
What do you hope happens, or what are your feelings?
My feelings, concern, but excitement.
Well, it's not easy rooting for the Maple Leafs. We catch up with some devoted and some reluctant fans ahead of Game 6.
And 5 years is a big chunk of your working life. It's a big chunk of your family life. It's a big chunk of your own life, and so it was a balance of those things.
And after 5 years, he's walking away. Ahead of the Liberal Leadership Convention, we're sitting down with Premier Andrew Furey.
This is CBC Here and Now.
Good evening and welcome to Here and Now. Police have lifted an order that forced people in the center of St. John's to shelter in place. Officers responded to an incident involving a weapon this afternoon. Here and Now's Julia Israel was there and has this report.
Police responded to a possible weapons incident in downtown St. John's with guns of their own drawn, officers pointing toward a house on Cookstown Road. At about 2:20 this afternoon, the Royal Newfoundland Constabulary issued a shelter-in-place order for this area, near Cookstown Road, Le Marchant Road, Bon Claudy Street, and Pennywell Road. The RNC ordered people to stay inside until they provide further direction. The police presence here this afternoon was heavy, with canines barking in the distance and the tactical unit on the ready. Eventually, the RNC ordered people out of a house. This latest incident comes after there were at least 4 separate instances of gun violence in the province in 5 days in April, while there were at least 5 shelter-in-place orders issued in the province last month alone. The incident happened today in a busy part of the city, where there were a lot of bystanders and drivers trying to enter the area. Police issued a second notice warning people to stay away. Just last week, RNC Police Chief Pat Roche said in a statement that they don't take shelter-in-place decisions lightly and that they're only made when necessary. He says people should take the orders seriously. If they don't, bystanders could get hurt or face criminal charges. Julia Israel, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, police have taken one person into custody this evening and say charges are pending. The RNC says no one was seriously injured and officers will remain on the scene this evening. Well, now to the West Coast. City staff in Brook have removed all parking meters in the downtown area. City enforcement staff took the tops or mounts off of all 166 parking meters last week after a big uptick in vandalism and theft. Mayor Jim Parsons says 91 meters have been damaged since the end of January. That means there is no parking enforcement, so you won't get a ticket for now. But the city is planning on going digital with a kiosk system and using more digital parking apps. The mayor says the bigger issue for him is the increase in petty crime.
It is frustrating. It is concerning, just because of the scale of the problem. Now that the meters are gone, I am concerned that there may be other petty crime. There has been some small vandalism uptick in the downtown, some smashed windows and things like that. Of course, we don't want to see any increase in break-ins or other inconvenience crimes. The cause of this is not exactly known. I suspect it has to do with increased addiction, mental health issues in the downtown, but it is certainly very frustrating for the businesses and for the city itself.
Well, there's more news from the courts about the beleaguered airport in Stephenville. The company that owns the Diamond Airport has been accused of not paying for the installation of a runway lighting system. The airport is now facing a $2.5 million lawsuit. That claim hasn't been tested in court and no statement of defense has been filed. And the airport was a no-show for court this morning. A one-day trial is now scheduled for March of 2026. Well, some strong words we heard from the Goose Bay Airport Corporation. That's after the province announced a new intra-provincial travel loop. It's part of an agreement with PAL Airlines. It'll see seasonal routes between the capital city, Gander, and Deer Lake over the summer. Dean Clark says excluding Labrador from this loop is especially frustrating because the corporation recently gave the province a proposal to encourage travel between St. John's, Montreal, and Labrador. He calls the situation ludicrous, and we will have more on that story still to come on Here and Now. Well, in other news, Andrew Parsons, the Minister for Industry, Energy and Technology and MHA for Burgeo-Lapoile, has announced his immediate resignation.
It's the right time for me, especially with the Premier going, a new Premier coming in, and they're going to be doing their own moves, cabinet shuffles, things like that. It's the right time for me and my family, and I feel good because I feel like I'm going out on my sort of terms. I feel like we've gotten done the files we need to get done. I feel good about what we've managed to accomplish both in the department, but especially back home.
Well, Parsons had previously said he wouldn't seek re-election. He says Premier Andrew Furey's decision to step down influenced his decision to walk away now. Parsons grew up in Channel Port-aux-Basque and was first elected as MHA in 2011. He was appointed Justice Minister 4 years later. Parsons says despite his departure, there won't be a by-election for the district of Burgeo-Lapoile before the next general election. Well, Equinor says first oil at the Bay du Nord project will now likely begin in 2031 if the project gets the green light. The Norwegian company met with suppliers this week as part of an open house series on the Deepwater project. Equinor says the reshaped project will occur in phases and that the FPSO will be built by a third party in order to cut costs. The project was put on hold in May 2023 and its future is still uncertain. A final investment decision is now expected in 2027.
It's a really important project for us. We really want to make it work, and you have seen all the work that we have put in. We have not given up. We have had hurdles in the past, so we are really working it. We want it to work, but at the same time, it needs to be an investment proposition that makes sense.
Well, workers gathered in downtown St. John's this afternoon as part of a Mayday rally, also known as International Workers' Day. It's a day to celebrate workers and advocate for their rights. It's something advocates say is especially important in the face of tariff threats from the American president.
So today is Mayday, International Workers' Day, and so we are gathering with workers here in St. John's to celebrate the day, to celebrate the progress that unions have made for working people, and to collectively recommit to the fight to improving working conditions, safety, wages, benefits, to make life better for working people.
This year, as we celebrate, this carries a deeper sense of urgency for us and reflection as we face the growing tensions of the tariff war on the global economic stage. For job uncertainties, rising costs, and disrupted livelihoods, it affects us both sides of the border.
Is there a message you're hoping to send today to those newly elected politicians?
Well, I think the message that we all want to send today is that we are here to hold you accountable, to hold your feet to the fire, and to make sure that you are prioritizing working people as we navigate, this relationship with the United States. When we come together, when we, use our strength that we have in our numbers, we can win and we can make a difference in working people's lives.
So,
solidarity! Solidarity!
Happy Mayday!
Well, on the opposite end of the country, members of the St. John's Filipino community hosted a vigil Wednesday evening, remembering the victims of the Vancouver Lapu-Lapu Day Festival.
Today, we gather with heavy hearts to remember the lives lost in a tragic event in Vancouver, the Lapu-Lapu tragedy, which claimed 11 precious souls and left many injured. To the families and loved ones of those we have lost, please know that our Filipino-Canadian community here in Newfoundland and Labrador stands with you in grief, in prayer, and in solidarity.
You put the effort into ensuring that safety is uppermost on everybody's mind, but you never know what may and can and could happen. So as mayor, I take a great degree of responsibility when I see these events taking place, and we always have to be cognizant and vigilant to ensure that we keep our residents safe.
The pain of this tragedy reverberates across our nation, touching every Filipino-Canadian who calls this country our home. Grief has no borders, and neither does compassion. May we continue to stand together as one community, bound by our shared humanity. Let us turn our sorrow into strength, our mourning into action, and our divisions into bridges of understanding. To the entire community, we ask for continued prayers as we navigate this difficult time together. Maraming salamat po sa inyo. Thank you all so much. May God bless us all.
Well, it's a survival story that made headlines around the world when the elite Navigator and its crew went missing at sea for 2 days last summer. Everyone feared the worst, but now the tale of the Lucky Seven will be memorialized with a plaque in New West Valley. The ship was first reported overdue on July 18th last year after a fire in the engine room. The crew abandoned ship and spent 2 days in a life raft enduring rain and dense fog. After a massive search, the Canadian Coast Guard rescued them and delivered them home safely. Artist Keisha Mercer designed a new plaque and Morgan McDonald will sculpt it. Premier Andrew Furey says it will be a permanent reminder of the crew's strength and resilience. Well, tonight is Game 6 of the first round of the Stanley Cup playoffs, with the Ottawa Senators facing off against Toronto. After the first 3 games, the Maple Leafs were well on their way, but in true Leafs fashion, the winning streak didn't stick. So how did the fans feel?
You know, as players, we got to answer the bell.
It's going to be a work in progress.
Are you a Leafs fan?
Unfortunately.
What are your thoughts about the Leafs and Senators going into Game 6 tonight?
I think the Leafs are going to lose again. They've choked every year I've watched anyway.
So in my Leafs despair, my coworkers, of course, have heard about this many a times over the last couple of weeks. One of my Senators fan coworkers left me with a little surprise this morning. I came into my desk and there was a nice little Sens jersey hanging over my chair.
Beginning of the Leafs series, I was going for the Leafs because I hate Ottawa, but now that they're getting close to getting put out, I kind of want to see it.
I think it's the fans. That's the fans' fault.
My thing is, if they lose tonight, they're going to lose. Their chances to win the night, and they better take it.
What do you hope happens? Or what are your feelings?
My feelings, concern, but excitement, optimism.
Hopefully this group is the group that overcomes that challenge of the mental side of what we're calling choking. I mean, the Cubs have done it in baseball, the Red Sox did it in baseball. It's time for the Leafs to do it.
I'm a Leafs fan through and through. Here, Mike, you can get my my little Maple Leaf. Go Leafs, go. We got this.
Well, it's a good night to stay in and watch the game. Temperatures today also pretty chilly, sitting in the single digits. Very different story from what we were seeing yesterday. That's thanks to an area of low pressure that is starting to move offshore. We've got that more northerly flow, keeping things very wintry still up across parts of Labrador, Northern Peninsula, West Coast, all seeing some flurries, and that will be the story tonight along the northeast coast as we see that colder air continue through the night. So that's the main story story tonight. As we head into tomorrow, things will improve, and then we do have a warm-up on the way, and I'll get into all of those details coming up a little later.
Well, some reaction out of Labrador to the provincial government's announcement about a new intraprovincial travel loop made earlier this week. It's an agreement with PAL Airlines to run seasonal routes between St. John's, Gander, and Deer Lake over the summer months. Dean Clark of the Goose Bay Airport Corporation joins me now. So, Dean, no mention of Labrador in that loop. What's your reaction to this announcement?
The original reaction was that of dismay, obviously. We've been trying to work with the provincial government over the last 18 months. We've given them written proposals on how Quebec does it for wage subsidies through Blanc-Sablon, Labrador City, to get patrons out through Montreal to endorse tourism and travel through Labrador and Quebec. So we gave the province the model that already exists, and Quebec just extended that model until 2026. Where you can fly for $500 return trip from both of those locations into Montreal. So we gave that model to the province, and we said we'd like for you to work with us through provincial airlines to come up with some kind of a similar model, albeit we're not as rich as what Quebec is in the pocketbook, but we could certainly avail of some kind of assistance from the province and some assistance in helping people travel in and out of Labrador. And that's just on not only from a leisure point of view, but some assistance on medical travel and whatnot, right? So we have some big high-level meetings next week in Montreal with 4 major airlines up there. So we're going to be pursuing it, but we've been asking the province to come on stream. When we hear this intra-provincial supposedly announcement that they're going to do a new routing and partnership between PAL and the province to link up Deer Lake, Gander, and St. John's, we almost threw up. I mean, you can get in your car at any point on the island, and within 3 or 4 hours, you're in any major city for $200 in gas. In the meantime, we have to pay $1,400, $1,500 for a trip to Labrador City to get a medical done, or $1,300 or $1,400 to fly into St. John's. It's just ludicrous, right? And on top of that, last year, they did a deal for overseas flights from St. John's, where the province is coughing up funds for that as well out of the public purse. In the meantime, all Labrador continues to suffer. We don't be included in any of these announcements. Why not? We're asking ourselves the question, why not? After all the times we've requested, we still continue to keep getting ignored by the province.
I wonder about the bigger feelings at play here, Dean, because you certainly feel like you are dismayed about this. Does this feel like a snub to a part of the province that significantly contributes to the economy?
Well, you hit the nail right on the head. You look at how Labrador contributes to the economy as a whole. For the GDP that's coming out of Voisey's Bay, all the iron ore is coming out of Labrador City with 4 or 5 new mines on the horizon that's going to require half the power that's coming out of Gull Island to even support it. You know, to the route developments and Labrador City, Voisey's Bay, Happy Valley Goose Bay with the power, $250 billion going to go into the provincial coffers over the next 30 to 40 years. And we can't get the province to come on stream similar to what Quebec has done for their residents. In the meantime, they still continue to entice flight arrangements through Deer Lake and Gander and St. John's on the public purse, and Labrador continues to be ignored. It's just not acceptable anymore. Nobody in the province should want to accept that, indeed, or Labrador.
Are you dismayed because Labrador has been excluded from this travel loop, or is it bigger than that? Are you dismayed because they're making plans on the island, but you haven't been able to make the deals that you would like to make on your own travel routes in Labrador?
Well, let me be very clear. We are more than happy for Deer Lake and Gander and St. John's as airport authorities. They have their vision of how to attract new tourism dollars and move people back and forth on the island, and we take our hats off to them, and we'll do anything that we can to support their causes as well. Yes, I'd be amiss if I didn't say we were dismayed. We are absolutely dismayed. Why do we continuously be left out of these major announcements? We're supposed to be supported by the Atlantic Airports Corporation. This had to be prior knowledge by everybody involved on that board, including Deer Lake, Gander, and St. John's, who all sit as that part of that same organization, as do we. But nobody contacted us to say this announcement was coming. Nobody said to us, as an airport corporation in Labrador, well, stay tuned, maybe there's something coming for you. We weren't even brought in on the announcement until we heard it on the public airways. So yes, to answer your question, we are dismayed, we're disgruntled, and we're very upset about it.
Dean Clark, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much.
Time for a look at the forecast, and it was a decent day here in St. John's today.
Yeah, we did see a bit of sunshine, but also some much cooler temperatures than we have been seeing for, well, at least yesterday anyway. But I can tell you where there is a lot of snow, and that is up across Labrador. Let's take a look at this picture in Northwest River. Irish was not happy, maybe happy that winter is back. There's some people that are very happy that winter is back, but I'm sure most looking forward to that spring-like weather. And don't worry, it is not far away. This is going to melt quite significantly as we head through the day tomorrow. But somewhere between 10 to 15 centimeters being reported for parts of Labrador, and it's pretty much wintry weather really along the coast, parts of the northern peninsula, and even the west coast as we head through tonight. We're looking at that potential for some wet snow. We do have a ridge of high pressure back to the west that is going to move in and eventually bring some nicer weather. But for now, we need to deal with that area of low pressure still in that northerly flow. So we're still seeing some drizzle here in St. John's, 3 degrees right now. Those winds are out of the west around 28 kilometers per hour, but still quite good visibility. But if we take a look at the temperatures across the board, the warmest across the island anyway in Burgeo, and up across Labrador, the warmest temperatures at the moment in Lab City at about 7 degrees right now. So if we're taking a look at the difference in temperatures from yesterday, down 10 degrees in St. John, 6 in Bonavista. But along the south coast, your temperature is still a little warmer than you were sitting yesterday, about 2 degrees warmer in Burgeo and 7 in Lab City. But like I said, there's a little bit of a roller coaster ride in the temperatures over the next couple of days. But for now, that northerly flow is certainly going to keep those temperatures cool, at least for the night and into the first part of tomorrow for some areas as well. So there's a couple of things going on here. We have that area of low pressure bringing that more onshore flow, some much colder temperatures on the west coast, and we can see some of that showing up as snow for the west coast at the moment, northern peninsula, and then that is rain for now in the east. And just taking a live look at St. Anthony, you did see rain today, but temperatures have bumped up now to 2 degrees, rain being reported as well, with those northerly winds around 40 to 60 kilometers per hour. So essentially over the next little bit, we're still going to see the potential for some snow, really wet snow or some showers over the next several hours, and then dropping to about 1 degree by the time we get to 9, 10 or 11 o'clock tonight. And we will see that for the west coast as well as all along the northeast coast through the night. Now, the good news is for those of you towards the coast of Labrador, things will improve by the time we get through the overnight. But we're going to continue to see those unsettled wintry really conditions along the northeast coast through the night tonight, with temperatures a little bit on the cool side, bottoming out, I should say, at about -1 in the Port Basque area, otherwise between 0 and about +3. Those northwesterly winds will be quite gusty all along the northeast coast, across the island as well, gusting anywhere from about 50 to as much as 60 kilometers per hour, but the coldest temperatures in Lab West tonight at -11. By the time we get into tomorrow, most of Labrador in for an absolutely beautiful day. As far as sunshine goes, you will see some clouds on the increase, though, for those of you in Lab West, and eventually some snow. As far as the island goes, along the northeast coast, expect some showers or flurries to linger in the morning, but the day should turn into a beautiful one, especially as we head into the afternoon. They may linger, the cloud cover may linger a little longer in the east, but overall pretty decent. And then some more clouds will move in as we head into the evening and overnight hours. And then as far as temperatures are concerned tomorrow, really wide ranging along the northeast coast with those northwesterly winds sticking around. It is going to stay quite cold, 4 to 5 degrees. Further inland through central, even the south coast, anywhere from 8 to 12 degrees as the daytime highs. And then across Labrador, you're looking at your temperatures coolest in the west and north around 2 or 3 degrees, otherwise between 7 and 8. Teens, they're in the forecast. I'll get into that a little later.
Thanks, Ashley. Well, Andrew Furey vowed he wouldn't become a career politician. Back in February, the Premier announced he'd be stepping down, and with the Liberals set to choose a new leader this Saturday, that means tomorrow will be his last day on the job. Furey says he missed a lot of time with his family during his 5 years in office. He sat down with the St. John's Morning Show's Jen White. He talked about his accomplishments as well as some regrets.
Premier Furey, thank you for doing this with us.
Happy to.
So we did our first interview at CBC together back in January at the CBC radio studio. And I was asking you at the time about when you were going to call an election. I was pressing you a little bit on that. And now in this strange turn of events, here we are for what may be one of our last interviews as he was with you as Premier here in your office. Andrew, was it something I said?
Yes, that was the TSN turning point. It was after that I came back to the vehicle and I said, I'm done.
So I have to ask, why now? What led to this decision now to step away?
Yeah, I know there's some questions by people in the public about why. My family and I sat down, and then it was really the question of, can we commit to another 3 years? And it was a family decision that we've given 5. And day one, I said I wasn't going to be a career politician, and my kids reminded me of that. So the decision matrix, although it started very complex, came down to, can as a family, can we commit to 3 more years? And if not, is it fair to plunge the general public into an election in 2 years because of the rule that Premier Williams put in place? The answer to both of those was no, and so then it became crystallized in my head that this was the right move.
It was the right time to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I already missed one of my kids going through high school. My second is almost finished high school, and then my third is getting ready to start high school. And they reminded me about how many days I was on the road, what events I missed, and it was a family decision and the balance of all of those things. And 5 years is a big chunk of your working life. It's a big chunk of your family life. It's a big chunk of your own life, and so it was a balance of those things. And seeing, as we reflected then about where we started as a family and where we came to now. I mean, when we won the leadership, my son's feet couldn't touch the floor. Fred Hutton took a picture of us from behind. It was in COVID. There was only a handful of people in the room, but his feet were just dangling, on the seat. And he jumped into my arms when we won, and now I can almost jump into his.
So as you mentioned, it's been 5 years now. You became the Premier in August of 2020 in the midst of a pandemic. What would you say is your big accomplishment over these past 5 years? What's your legacy?
Well, I hope my legacy is one of pace, a pace of change and transformation, whether that's in tackling the pandemic, and I think we hit the right measure and balance of not just shutting down, but more importantly reopening, which is harder. Then we tackled the fiscal situation of the province, making sure that we did the rate mitigation deal, making sure that the former Premier struggled to borrow money, he wrote the Prime Minister the day and said he couldn't borrow T-bills. We've managed to right the fiscal ship of the province such that the credit rating agencies have all given us an upgrade. We've taken some bold, courageous steps in creating a future fund, for example, in terms of the fiscal stewardship of the province, and cut the deficit down. We tackled healthcare in a transformative and aggressive way, things that people said couldn't be done. One health authority, bringing NILCHI into the health authority, one ambulance service, for the whole province. Finally, now there's a central command where we know where all the ambulances are. It was crazy. We could figure out where your Uber driver was in New York, but we didn't know where all the ambulances were here in Newfoundland and Labrador. Virtual care that allows people to access primary care, but also keeps emergency departments open. Family care teams, a brand new concept, but one that I think is transformative and important for the delivery of primary care going forward. So the transformations that happen in health, I hope, will be remembered as one of pace. Demographics, changing the demographic trajectory. First time since 1971, the K-12 population increased. 12 or 13 quarters in a row now of population increase in Newfoundland and Labrador. fundamentally, that is an underpinning problem with the economy and with the social safety net if we can't change the demographics, and we have. And then, of course, there's Churchill Falls and sitting down and making sure that we put the province on a better trajectory with respect to our energy space, whether that's in believing and supporting and championing our oil and gas products, and saving them in the time of COVID-19, saving the Terra Nova, saving the West White Rose, saving Beta Nor. All of those things happened on our watch, and then moving into the hydroelectric space and ensuring that we have a transformative deal for the people of Newfoundland and Labrador, while also harnessing other green electricity with respect to hydrogen and wind potential here in Newfoundland and Labrador. It is an incredible place to live with exciting opportunities for the future.
So you've listed a lot there about what you've been able to accomplish, but what did you learn about yourself during your time here?
That's a great question. You should have provided these before. I learned that you have to have you need to be bold, you need to be courageous, you need to have the strength of your convictions despite criticism, but you also have to be wise enough to understand and appreciate the voice of the people in helping to mold those convictions and your vision for the province. I also learned that this job can be lonely. It's the successes have many champions, but the failures, you're often sat here alone in this office wondering if you made the right move and the right decision.
I want to talk a little bit about reflecting, and if you have any regrets during your time in the Premier's office. What was your biggest challenge, or was there something that you wish you had handled differently?
With respect to regrets or things that I should have handled or could have handled differently, and look, hindsight's 20/20, and no politician is afforded the benefit of hindsight. That's why opposition is so easy. Sure. I can think of two immediately. First of all, it was early in my tenure when we were doing, and amidst COVID, so with a COVID lens, I could have handled the relationship with Innu in particular differently during the rate mitigation announcement and process. That was not done with any malice or malintent on my part, I assure you, and I've apologized to them and have tried to make, and I think have made the relationship right. I should have phoned the Grand Chief at the time, and I take responsibility for that instead of downloading that to a minister or whoever. The second thing is with respect to the crab protests last year. I think that we were always willing and wanting to work with the people that had issues, and for whatever reason, it was directed at government when really it's between the processors and the fishermen and the harvesters. That said, that got out of hand very quick. And we were always wanting to allow, for more competition and some of the demands at the time that they requested, but had to do it in a logical and reasonable way, waiting for quotas, for example, but in order to make those definitive decisions. But I'm not sure what I would have done differently, but I do have regret that it escalated to the level that it did, if there was some way that I could have prevented it.
Returning now to part 2 of CBCNL's Sit Down with outgoing Premier Andrew Furey, with a new Liberal leader being selected this weekend. This is Furey's last week in office. So let's return to his conversation with St. John's Morning Show host Jen White, starting with a moment from the last 5 years Andrew Furey says he will never forget.
I mean, wow, my favorite memory. Standing with my son and my wife in France, the first Newfoundlanders and Labradorians, the first Canadians to see the casket. That was pretty special. Yeah, the weight of the province was heavy on me that day, and it was emotional, and that's probably my favorite memory. Yeah, and it was just a room, it was just a very plain white room, nothing on the walls, and then just one of our fallen sons there, and my wife, my son, and I got to stand guard for him just for a couple silent minutes by ourselves before anyone else saw him, and that's probably my favorite memory. Yeah.
Something you're going to carry with you.
It is indeed. Yeah.
So I want to turn now to the future of the province. Your successor, who we know is going to be named John at this point, whichever John that is, will be chosen this weekend. What do you see as the biggest challenge for them moving forward as the next premier?
I think the immediate big challenge is the obvious, is the threat of tariffs and the uncertainty with respect to President Trump. I think, unfortunately, there is potentially a national unity issue lurking in the background, and I take some serious offense to some of the comments by Preston Manning and others about fanning the flames of division in our country, when now is a time for unity and protection of our values that unite us all, regardless of where you live, and the regional economic issues and friction that can exist. And look, they exist with us in the federal government. It's what makes Canada special, is that we can have all these diverse and different views, different ideologies, but we're united as Canadians. Obviously, there's the taking the MOU to definitive agreements, which is already, all the process and structure is already set up in a responsible way, with lessons learned from Muskrat and lessons learned from Churchill Falls 1, to execute on that in a timely fashion. But subsequent to that, the challenge and the temptation will be to spend all that money. My challenge to whoever comes next is to be prudent and responsible with it. There's enough money to pay off debt, pay into the Treasury with goods and services that people need right now, and the Future Fund.
Speaking of the influence of down south, I noticed that once you announced your resignation, you seemed a little bit more freer with your words, and you called U.S. President Donald Trump
cracked, I think. Yep.
Cracked, I think was the word, yeah. What was it like going to Washington and then trying to deal with a hostile administration?
I can tell you it is as it appears, and everybody thinks that there's some master strategy or strategist, and there's not. We met with senior White House officials, Deputy Chief of Staff, the premiers, and it was what I would describe as a very cold meeting. There was none of the pleasantries of normal Canadian-U.S. relations. It was, we don't understand why you're confused, because we went in thinking, okay, well, what's really going on? Like, surely this 51st state stuff is nonsense, although I've maintained from day one, as you know, that I think that he's been serious, but not all premiers shared that view. They were like, well, we're confused. He's telling you what he means, and he means what he says. Like, why would we shed any light onto something else? Like, he's telling you, he's being very direct. Like, you're the ones who are foolish for not understanding what he's saying, basically. And there was a chill over the room after that. I also came away with the impression, and I think you've seen it play out on TV, that this president is different than Trump 1, in that he is, and I can tell you, not the same level, obviously, but you're influenced by your sphere and you're influenced by officials, and that helps shape your decision. I think he's forgotten all that because he has some regrets in term 1, and he's just going, like, there's a decision maker of 1 in that White House, and it's him. And that is scary, because there's, one of the things about this job or his job is you shouldn't be the smartest person in the room. You should be seeking advice. You should have the insight to know and the confidence in yourself to know that I shouldn't know everything about this. You should be helping me form my opinion about this, and then I'll make a decision consequent to that. But it is very chilling. He's, still, I do think he has an imperialistic agenda. He's an older president who may or may not seek a third term, but heaven forbid. But he wants a legacy, and a legacy in his mind, I think, is expansion of the territory of the United States, whether that's Panama, Greenland, or Canada. And I think we need to be on guard for that.
The next premier is going to have a lot on his plate then, trying to handle that. I want to get back.
I handled a virus that was pathological and biological. There's a different virus that the next premier has to handle. Equally threatening.
Cost of living is also now a big issue for people in this province. And housing, of course. We're in the middle of a housing crisis. How does the next government need to move forward to address this challenge?
Well, cost of living is always a complex issue. It started in the wake of the pandemic and inflationary pressures that were subsequently downloaded onto consumers. And there's no subnational, or I would argue even national government, that can pull any single lever that's going to fix that immediately. So there are limited tools within the toolbox of government to help. I think we exercise those. Whether that was in cutting your motor vehicle registration in half, reducing taxes like on your home insurance, whether it's having the lowest gas tax in the entire country. Gas tax, by the way, used to be a road tax, which would pay for the paving of the roads. So that is revenue that the provincial government is foregoing, so that for the people of the province. I think that you need to continue to be creative within the parameters that you can control without being irresponsible. We cut a check when we had a surplus, but we didn't cut a check when we didn't have a surplus. That doesn't make any sense to me.
Okay, Premier, final question. I know it's the biggest question on everyone's mind. What's next for you?
Well, I'm going back to the operating room. I'm going back to serving the people of the province in a different capacity. And but who knows after that? We'll see where this life adventure takes me. I've always been interested in personal and professional growth, whether that's in the operating room or outside with Team Broken Earth and creating national charities like $1 a day, or in business, frankly. So I don't think my future adventure will be exclusively limited to the operating room.
Do you see any future at all in politics? Do you think you'd come back here?
We'll see. I mean, we're exiting now for family reasons, but family circumstances change as children grow, and there's always been a strong call to serve the public and my family, and in me. And if that opportunity arises in the future, it's certainly one that I'd be interested in entertaining.
All right, Premier, thank you so much for taking the time to have this chat today.
Oh, thank you, and thank you to everyone at home for putting your trust in me. I appreciate it.
Okay, time for a look at the long-range forecast. Wondering about Saturday. It's kind of a big day for the province because the Liberal Leadership Convention is happening in the afternoon, which means as of Saturday night, we'll have a new premier of the province, a premier designate named John. So how is the weather looking for Saturday?
It's actually not that bad. We will see some sunshine at times during the day as well, and then also some of us are going to see some mild air. So let's take a look at what's going on. We do have an unsettled day though up across Labrador, and it is going to be a bit on the cool side for you. So you're actually looking at some snow. That will be the story right through the morning for at least from say Lab West through to Happy Valley Goose Bay or the Upper Lake Melville area. And then as we head towards the afternoon, the coast will start to see some of that flurry activity, and we'll see things generally taper off in the west. And then as far as the island goes, we should see some sunshine in the afternoon, say mid-morning to the afternoon for the eastern half of the island, but the clouds will move right back in. We may see a few showers here and there, nothing significant, but there's certainly still that chance as the day goes on. Overall temperatures will be on the mild side, anywhere from 10 to 12 degrees from the west coast through central to the east. Now along the south coast of the island, this will be more in the way of onshore drizzle and some cloud cover, and temperatures a little cooler as well, between 6 and 8 degrees. Northern Peninsula only 3 to 5 degrees as your daytime highs. Labrador between 0 and about +5. And again, you will eventually see some clearing skies in Lab West with some sunshine, but overall around 4 degrees will be your afternoon temperature. So Sunday at this point does look a little bit unsettled. We are going to see some rain develop for the south coast, eastern Newfoundland, likely going to see some of that rain as well in the morning. Now the northern peninsula, west coast, you'll likely stay dry, at least for the first part of the day. And then again, a little bit unsettled up across Labrador with that chance of some more flurry activity or some light snow in the west. And then more in the way of a wintry mix through central and coastal areas of Labrador. Some sunshine likely peeking out on the west coast, but later on you'll see some showers. Daytime highs again will range anywhere from 12 to 16 degrees from the west coast through to the east. And then overall, the rest of the island seeing temperatures around 8 or 9 degrees as your daytime highs. Labrador, you'll be hovering around +1 with the exception of Happy Valley Goose Bay through to the coast where you'll be between 5 and 7 degrees. Now a little bit of a roller coaster. Monday will drop back down around 7 degrees and then right back up by the time we get into Tuesday. A little bit warmer for central, but you will see that drop in temperatures on Monday. This does look like flurries for western Newfoundland. And then for Labrador, you're looking at your temperatures. Look at that. By the time we get into Tuesday, potentially the teens and double digits for western Labrador as well. Our weather photo today taken in Lassie.
Oh, wow.
It's time. We're talking about icebergs now. This is a great shot just outside the harbor there in Lassie. Thank you to Mike for that. If you have any weather photos, share them with us. We'd love to see it. NL photos at cbc.ca.
Oh, that is a great shot. That's a big one.
It looks big.
I wonder how many icebergs are out on the coast. I haven't checked the iceberg tracker.
There's a lot. There's a lot further offshore. It's just whether they make it here or not. I'll show you tomorrow.
Yeah. I wonder what our iceberg season is going to be like this year.
It all depends on the wind.
Right.
Yeah, we'll see. If we see that northerly flow, it also means not nice weather, but icebergs.
But icebergs. Oh.
Yeah.
Give and take.
I know.
Yeah. Well, if you're out and about and you see an iceberg, take a photo and send it to us.
Yeah.
Really appreciate it. All right. Well, that's it for us. Thank you so much for watching.
Good night.
Great picture. Yeah.